You've been praying, but something feels off. Your words feel heavy, your heart feels dry. And no matter how long you kneel, heaven seems silent. You're restless in your prayer life, not because God has abandoned you, but because you've drifted from the posture that invites His presence. Prayer was never meant to be a transaction, it's supposed to be a transformation. Yet somewhere along the way you started chasing results instead of relationship, seeking answers instead of alignment. You ask, but not to surrender, only to be satisfied. That's why your spirit trembles in frustration. James 4:3 says you ask and do not receive because you ask with wrong motives. That's the secret cause of your restlessness. You've made prayer about control, not communion. God cannot fill a cup that's already full of self. When your heart is cluttered with desires, distractions, and deadlines, prayer turns into performance. You recite words, but you no longer wait for whispers. The shocking truth is that many believers secretly idolize the feeling of spiritual progress more than the presence of the Spirit Himself. You measure your prayers by visible outcomes instead of invisible obedience, forgetting that faith is the evidence of things not seen, Hebrews 11:1. So you pray, but your spirit is still pacing, restless, because deep down you're not trusting the one you're talking to. You want God to move according to your schedule, but He's trying to teach you to move according to His silence. The waiting room of prayer is not punishment, it's preparation. Yet impatience keeps you restless, and restlessness exposes unbelief. You don't rest in prayer because you don't yet believe that God's no can be as holy as His yes. You want breakthrough, but you fear surrender. You want peace, but you keep negotiating with your pain. That's why Philippians 4:6-7 tells you to be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, make your requests known to God, and then the peace of God will guard your heart. Notice it's peace that follows surrender, not striving. Many Christians secretly treat prayer like a spiritual vending machine, expecting instant gratification while ignoring that prayer's true power lies in submission, not success. You're restless because you're praying for comfort while God is calling you into discomfort. He's not ignoring you, He's stretching you. He's peeling back the layers of pride that make you think your words can manipulate His will. Sometimes God allows the silence so that your spirit can learn to listen. Elijah didn't find God in the wind, the earthquake, or the fire, but in the still, small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. That's the voice your restlessness drowns out. You've mistaken noise for nearness. You've mistaken emotional highs for holy ground. When prayer becomes about feelings, you'll only feel close to God when life feels easy. But true intimacy is forged in the dark, where faith has no proof except His promise. God is not punishing your restlessness. He's revealing your reliance on emotion instead of endurance. You've been praying for peace, but He's asking you to pray from peace, trusting that Romans 8:28 still holds even when nothing seems to move. You see, prayer doesn't always change your situation. Sometimes it exposes your spiritual condition. That unease you feel isn't distance, it's divine disruption. The Holy Spirit is stirring you because you've settled for routine instead of revelation. You repeat the same prayers, but your heart no longer burns with expectation. You say, "Thy will be done," but secretly hope God's will aligns with yours. And when it doesn't, you call it unanswered. The truth is, prayer loses power when your motive becomes maintenance instead of intimacy. God doesn't just want your requests, He wants your reverence. He's not after perfect words, but a yielded heart. That's why Jesus withdrew to lonely places to pray, Luke 5:16, not for performance, but for presence. You're restless because you've confused consistency with connection. You show up, but your mind is everywhere. Except with Him, you scroll before you seek. You talk more than you listen. You want a supernatural touch, but live in constant distraction. The secret war for your prayer life is fought not on your knees, but in your attention. Satan doesn't need to destroy your prayer life, he only needs to distract it. Every notification, every worry, every doubt pulls you 1 inch further from stillness. And yet Psalm 46:10 whispers, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness isn't inactivity, it's spiritual focus. Until your soul learns to be still, your prayers will always feel restless. But here's the hidden mercy: that restlessness is an invitation, not a rejection. God allows it so you'll search for Him beyond the surface. He's dismantling your comfort so He can deepen your communion. Sometimes He'll strip away every earthly answer so that only His presence remains, and that's when true prayer begins. The restless believer often becomes the most refined vessel, because in that wrestling, trust is built. You think you're fighting for an answer, but God is fighting for your heart. Every unanswered prayer is a sculptor's stroke, shaping you into someone who desires the giver more than the gift. Remember Jacob? He wrestled with God all night, restless, desperate, and wounded, but he refused to let go until he was changed. That's the purpose of your restlessness. It's meant to make you cling tighter, not drift further. God doesn't waste holy discomfort. It's the friction that forges faith. So if your prayers feel heavy, your words feel empty, and your soul won't settle, it's not failure, it's formation. The Spirit is shaking loose every illusion that prayer is about eloquence, performance, or speed. True prayer is slow, deep, costly surrender. It's the place where pride dies and faith begins. And when you finally stop trying to feel powerful in prayer, that's when His power starts to fill you. The peace you crave isn't found in more words, it's found in yielded silence. Your restlessness isn't proof that God is absent, it's proof that He's near, calling you back to the secret place, to the quiet where your spirit stops striving and starts listening. So breathe, stop rehearsing your frustrations and start releasing them. Let your tears speak when your tongue can't. Let your silence become your offering. The restless heart only finds rest when it stops performing and starts abiding. Because the moment you stop chasing answers and simply whisper, "Your will be done," that's when heaven stops feeling distant, and your soul finally learns what peace in prayer truly means.